Welcome to our Food and Fitness Podcast, Episode 1. I'm Jackie Vandertuin, and we are super excited to be launching this podcast about food and fitness. We hope that this podcast will be informative, uplifting, empower you, and provide you with a sense of community. We're normal people who are interested in all aspects of food and fitness, and we want to bring to you information on a variety of topics related to health and achieving a healthy lifestyle.
Hello and welcome. I am Jessica White, and I'm super excited to dive in and explore different avenues of health and fitness with you. Throughout each and every episode, we'll be sharing our personal stories while exploring different aspects of food and fitness and connecting with some pretty amazing people. We plan to chat about different trends, do some myth busting on food and fitness, and explore what health means to each of us and to you as well.
Hi, I'm Dave Marshall, and in future episodes, we're going to talk with local farmers. We're going to see what the importance is between buying from the farm, buying from the grocery store. We're going to talk with an organic farmer who's as passionate about his produce as he is about his long distance running. We're also going to sit down with chefs who are going to teach us an opportunity how to make delicious food to prepare us for a healthy lifestyle, also to get us ready for our events that we're going to be experiencing, and finally, talk to some experts to see their opinions on how to start, how to continue, and how to grow your fitness lifestyle.
Okay, so let's get started. So the words food and fitness are so personal, and they can conjure up lots of memories, from wonderful family dinners to junior high gym classes to outright fear, anxiety, and trepidation. And we thought we would unpack what food and fitness means to each of us. So I can't tell you how excited I am, because I'm so pumped to learn what food and fitness mean to you guys. So Jess and Dave, Jess, if you want to start off, so how would you define fitness?
You're right. I think fitness is so different to everybody because it's different to every body. The way that one person looks at fitness is totally different. And you could have two people from the same household doing the exact same exercise, but it's going to end with different results. So for me, when I think of fitness, I instantly think about moving, how active you are. And of course, with magazines and blogs and influencers and everything on the internet, my mind also goes to that aesthetic, that perfect body, that ideal body. I think I've come to terms that I am never going to achieve that ideal body, and I am 100% okay with that. For me, fitness also is more of the health side of things too. It's what you drink, it's what you eat, it's how much you sleep, it's how mindful you are throughout your day, and really taking those times for rest. So that's kind of a umbrella overview of what I think of fitness.
That sounds awesome. Dave, how about you? How would you define fitness for you?
Well, same with Jess. There's a lot of different things as people view fitness in different ways. Some people do it for physical gain. Some people do it for mental gain. For me, I view it more as a maintenance item. So to assist with my mental health, my physical health, going out on the trail, going on a hike is a really nice way to just mentally relax and unload on a stressful situation. Just being in nature, surrounding yourself. Some people like music. Some people like to listen to the noises of what's going on in the forest. Usually I just end up listening to my own heavy breathing, but that's how it goes. So that's what fitness means to me. I'm also a type 1 diabetic. So fitness is a maintenance to maintain my blood sugars, to make sure that I don't go too high, don't go too low. So I'm usually carrying some extra mental baggage with me, as well as physical baggage for some spare snacks and everything whenever time I go out, hit the gym, hit the trail, anything like that.
Yeah, and certainly I look at fitness as very health perspective, but fitness kind of frightens me as well. And I have 3 morbidly obese sisters, and not that it's about aesthetics, but I remember telling my sister, because she had said it's a wake up call, and they live in another province, and I said, you know what, probably the next time I see you is I'll be going to your funeral. And so for me, it's that extending my life, and how can I don't want to say not turn into them, but how can I maintain a very healthy lifestyle that's objectified and built on those numbers of my heart rate and my blood pressure. And that's a good thing and a bad thing that I struggle with. And of course, as I get older, I learn that mental health is super important, but I don't pay enough attention to it. So fitness is a whole bunch of things, as we all talked about. So Jess, kind of what's your history with regards to fitness and how you define it?
So I think like everything starts back to when you're a kid and setting kind of the stage, right? So when I was a kid, I lived in the country, I lived on a dairy farm, and I was outside all the time. I was playing sports all the time. I was super active, which I think kind of carried through all of my school years. Until I hit college. College, you start fresh, you're out of the house. There's so many different new things, but then also you're not taking a gym class all the time. You have to pay for a gym class. So that kind of really shook me for a little bit. But I still overall was pretty active. Walking, you still had to walk to school, there's lots of those kind of things. And then once I moved back home, once I was done school, I did join a gym. I think that for me, that's kind of the golden ticket. I have to have a gym membership so that it kind of keeps me motivated. And I think for fitness, you want to be fit, you want to be athletic, but there's also that motivating factor. And I think half of the issue with me is just showing up. Like if I show up, I love fitness. And that's kind of carried through my 20s. And then I also got pregnant. So when I got pregnant, I gained quite a bit of weight. I think the average person gains like 15 to 30 pounds. I think I gained 80 or more. Like it was huge. Thankfully, I didn't have too many issues throughout my pregnancy. And once I did give birth, I did lose a lot of the weight. A lot of it was water weight. And then I could be a little bit more active. So that was great. And I think throughout my pregnancy, I had a lot of acid reflux issues towards the end. And a lot of it was weight related, but also I wasn't moving as much. And I really like spicy foods. I loved foods in general. So that kind of started the thing with acid reflux for me. Actually, last week I was diagnosed actually having acid reflux. So I do have a medication now that I'm taking, and it's really changed, kind of opened my eyes, realized that even though I was eating healthy, there's some healthy foods that are still triggers for that. So, right now I'm at a stage in my life where I do have a gym membership. I go at least 3 times a week, plus doing outdoor activities, hiking. I'm really excited for the spring and summer as soon as we're allowed to actually get on the water, because I did buy a kayak this year. So I'm super pumped to add that into my activities. And yeah, just really focusing on what I'm eating right now and figuring out what my triggers are with acid reflux and figuring all of that stuff out right now.
So you have some health conditions associated with, that fitness as well.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of it still is new for me. So I'm really excited that this podcast is happening when it is, because I feel like you guys can all come on the journey with me as I'm figuring all of this stuff out, which is super exciting.
Cool. So Dave, what is your history with regards to fitness?
Yeah, well, when I grew up, I guess maybe you see it as fitness, but I saw it as play. Like I grew up on a court. So we lived at the top of the court. In the summer, we would play we would play full length basketball, full length hockey. We'd ride our bikes in circles until probably someone fell off because we just kept going in the same direction. We also weren't the safest kids at all. There's a lot of injuries within our group. But that was more of a play thing. But as I got to the end of elementary school, all through high school, I played a very competitive football. So my fitness was actually geared towards a certain task. It was towards strength, and it was towards small bursts of energy. So I actually got to a point where I could train myself to perform a certain task of moving people out of the way, and get to a certain point and recover in a very short period of time. So that's how I basically grew up. That's what my fitness journey was to train for a certain task, to a certain objective. But as I finished up high school, I ended up getting a severe knee injury. I actually tore all the cartilage and tendons in my left knee, which still kind of plagues me a little bit to this day. But my view changed from fitness to more of a recovery thing. So I actually weigh the same now as I did in high school. It's just I'm built very differently. I was more muscular in high school. Near the end of it, I was playing football, skiing, rock climbing. I had a lower body fat percentage. Obviously, that's a little bit different now, but I am happier with my level of fitness now because I feel like I can go on a longer hike. I can enjoy things more rather than my lifestyle and my fitness journeys being revolved around weight training and sprints. I mean, if I never have to do a sprint again, I'm totally okay with that.
That's yeah, absolutely. Interesting. So I actually grew up, I was interested in both medicine and sports, and I was a wannabe athlete and I played everything. I just wasn't very good at it. I have an undergrad in physical education, and kind of moved my way into health is what I look at it. So I look at my history as always being active, but never really, and this is where the mind kind of plays games with you a little bit in that comparison to others. So I always kind of struggled a little bit with an imposter kind of syndrome, which is really silly because the older you get, you realize it doesn't exist. But my history with fitness is always comparing myself to others and really feeling not like a good athlete. And I'll tell people now, I'm actually not a really good athlete. So that's a journey that I'm trying to kind of overcome, that, fitness is more than those crazy numbers that people post all the time. So that's a struggle that I have a little bit. So my relationship with fitness is I love it. And I often tell myself is, you know what, I'm 50 and I don't have a problem telling anybody I'm 50. I think I do pretty cool things as a 15-year-old.
You do.
But I went out last night and I'm going for a run and I'm like, man, I don't like this. Like it was a struggle for a run last night. So it's always somewhere in between. Some days I love it. Some days I hate it, but I love being able to wake up and walk up 3 flights of stairs and still have a conversation at the same time. So what about you guys? Dave, what is your relationship with fitness?
I hate to love it. I mean, it's so hard to get motivated, but once I get there, I feel a lot better. So, getting motivated to get onto the trail. So living up in Orangeville, we're right by the Bruce Trail. Last summer, we would go further north, and when the city people all come up to our area, we would leapfrog them and go even further north. So kind of the Beaver Valley, we'd go up to the Collingwood area and spend some time in Tobermory. But for me, it was fantastic getting there. But once we got there, it was a lot better. And same when I got to the gym. Before the pandemic hit, I was with Orange Theory Fitness, and I found that their style of fitness and classes actually fit my life very well. Because I could balance it with cardio as well as some muscle weight. So as a diabetic, you actually do have exercise can affect different diabetics, each their own. So sometimes if you have a lot of weight work, your blood sugars can skyrocket for no reason whatsoever. And then a lot of cardio can bring it back down. So what I would do is I would always try to get my weight work done first, my cardio session done second. And then once I figured that out, it was a lot easier for me to appreciate and enjoy the time that I was spending there with Orange Theory. So that's pretty much where I got.
Wow. So a learning experience sounds like for all of us, really, and in that journey that
Yeah.
we're on. Jess, you talked a lot about this, which again, I'm super excited to ask you these conversations.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit about food, and yeah, I'm not going to preface this with anything. Jess, and I'm not picking on you. You just happen to be the first person that I think of. What is food to you? Do you eat for pleasure? Do you eat because you have to? Do you follow a particular way of eating? Do you eat paleo, keto, vegan, or the plate's in front of you with food and you just eat it? So tell us a little bit more about what food is to you.
So I think through different stages of my life, food meant different things.
Amen.
Right now, food is nutrition. So when I am, and it's also, it's not to say that it's not, I don't know, food, it definitely is one of those things that I love. I love to cook. I love flavor. And right now, I'm focusing on finding foods that are good for me, that my body is reacting to, and it not causing other issues, but then also finding foods that aren't just bland, that have that flavor to it. So yeah, I don't know, like recipe books. I have so many recipe books. Thankfully now in today's age, you can find any recipe in your hand through your phone. So it's definitely helpful. Do I follow a certain type of diet? I have tried a couple of them, but they really don't stick. For me, having a restricted diet really isn't beneficial because I always think about all of the other foods that I can't have. So I think doing the shift that I'm doing right now, it's really important for me to still find food that is nutritious, but food that I enjoy, that is more plant-based. But I also don't restrict categories of food. So I'd say, if anything, it's maybe a little bit more on the Mediterranean diet side of things, but I don't really follow, I don't want to say that I'm following a specific diet because in my mind, I'm restricting things. So I think it's more of a lifestyle shift. I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's kind of where I'm at right now.
I keep seeing you and I see the word journey.
Yeah. I've actually, this past week, I've been researching and I found so many different amazing low acid, because I think that that's important for people who have acid reflux, is to figure out what, and kind of focusing on the pH in food too. So there's not really a specific diet that I'm following. I'm just really more cautious and more mindful really of what I'm actually putting in my body.
Interesting. Dave, you have a real particular aspect of your health that defines food probably much differently than it does for me, and I'm going to guess for Jeff as well. What does food mean to you?
I eat for entertainment a lot of the time. I really enjoy food. And as a diabetic, I do have to make certain choices at certain times. So my saying through life is, I'm diabetic, I'm not dead. So if it's someone's birthday, I'll have a piece of cake. I may not have the same size of piece of cake as someone else, but I definitely still want to enjoy the luxuries of food. So I will go to a restaurant and maybe I'll indulge a little bit more than maybe I should. I have to take a little bit more insulin, but I will ride out a little bit higher blood sugar after a meal just to enjoy something. And when we travel with my wife, she knows a lot of the time our travel is going to be based around food. We've been to Germany. We tried some great food in Germany. We've been to Belgium, not known for culinary delights. Great food in Belgium. All throughout Canada, we were in Newfoundland, maybe one of the best meals I've ever had in my life. I paid for it somewhat with my blood sugar, but it was maybe the best meal I've ever had in my life. And I look at food maybe differently. So I go for maybe lower carbs. So I may have some more vegetables, some more greener vegetables, a little bit more protein, cut down on the bread basket. So if a bread basket comes, I'll usually just pass it around. White rice, I'll probably just pass that, have a little bit smaller portion than I normally would, have a little bit more protein, not necessarily animal protein, but protein overall through vegetables. But when I look at food, I want to go for quality rather than quantity. So I have no problem spending a little bit more money on a smaller portion of an animal protein. I have no problem spending a little bit more money on a locally grown product for my vegetables when it's in season. And I mean, when we hit asparagus season, you will see asparagus in our house the whole time. When we go to a berry section, it is nonstop berries, and like buy them, freeze them, go for that. And we try to eat as local as possible and as seasonal as possible during those times. And obviously you're going to stretch it a little bit more, but when we travel and we indulge, it's so good.
That sounds wonderful. So food, it's funny, and I don't know about you guys, COVID's kind of changed my eating a little bit.
Yeah.
And I've said a couple of times, I'm having something to eat only because I'm bored. And I've recognized that I deal with food with stress, but I think I eat now. I eat because I love food and I love the taste of it and I love the texture of it and I love the colors of it. But I'm always conscious about what I put into my body as well, because I try to eat very healthy. But I know for me, and I've gained some weight. I've not gained the COVID-19. I've been pretty lucky so far. But yeah, that's probably been a little struggle for me. Is I eat because I'm bored. So yeah, that's something that I have to deal with. So I'm just going to continue on because again, I'm super interested in what you guys have to say. What's your relationship with food? I'm always really interested with how people view food. Is it positive? Is it negative? Or is it something that you do just to sustain you? So Dave, how about you?
So I was fortunate in a family that made a lot of meals at home, which was nice, or we were adventurous eaters. Then throughout high school, we actually ran a restaurant for the teachers. So every day we would run the restaurant, and it would have a soup, a salad, two mains, and a dessert. And then we would partner with the drama department and build like a dinner theater in partnership with that. So we would go around the same themes and build it as like that. And it was such a great learning experience where I got to grow an appreciation for the process of making food, the effort that goes into making food, which makes me appreciate the final product significantly more. And as that continued, I would get a lot of cookbooks for Christmas, for birthdays. I read them like they're novels, and I dive deep into them. When I was off work during the first bit of pandemic, I decided to make mustard, and I watched maybe hours of videos on how to make mustard. And I tried, like I picked a little bit from here and here, and the first batch, absolute failure. It was so bad. But the second batch was a lot better. And we got into that. And then I made like pickled jalapenos. I made hot sauce. So I love food, and I completely understand that different people may be forced to eat differently. It hurts me, but I'm never going to judge anyone because of that. If I'm going grocery shopping and I'm fortunate enough to be able to afford my groceries, I will try my best to pick a healthy alternative to donate to the food bank. And for me, that's key. Just because people rely on the food bank doesn't mean that the quality of the food that they get from that food bank has to happen. In our area, there's some unbelievable farms and some unbelievable organizations that you can purchase meals from the food bank or from them to be donated to the food bank. So, a guest that we're going to have on later on in a future episode, he actually will do that as well. Like he will, some of his fresh produce is donated to the food bank. Another guest, you can buy meals or packages, and that's donated to the food bank.
I'm going to be in with you, Dave, and
Sure.
I've left this kind of open a little bit because I want to know what you think your ideal diet is. And that even goes with, what is your definition of diet? So define diet, and what is your ideal diet?
I think my ideal diet is going to be very different than other people's definition of a diet because of my specific needs. So obviously, I would love to be able to have a low glycemic index diet. So meaning that the effects of, say, white bread versus whole wheat bread for me is my blood sugars will climb significantly faster and quicker with a white bread than it would with a whole wheat bread. Maybe I just don't have bread, but when I do, I have to make those decisions to eat something that's a little bit better for my lifestyle as a diabetic, and not just as a type 1 diabetic. I think all diabetics that's something that they're taught very early on, is about the glycemic index when it comes to food. So ideally, I would love to have a high protein and high, green veggie fruits, and not have to have the side effects. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen in my lifetime, unfortunately. But for me, just to eat the best that I can, to eat the best quality that I can. And and I like to make a lot of my food. So the more I can make myself, the better. And in the future, I have to probably win the lottery or have a relative pass away that is obscenely rich that I don't know about. But to have my own place with my own gardens, with my own animals, growing my own food, that's my fantasy diet. But we'll see. One can hope.
That's awesome. Jess, how about you? First off, how would you define diet? And what would you say your ideal diet is?
I think honestly, my ideal diet would be to eat anything and everything, because I love food so much. But that's just not my reality. So right now, what my ideal diet would be to eat all of those healthy and delicious and local veggies and fruit and kind of more of the whole grain side of things, whole grain breads and all of that, those amazing goodies. To eat those in a way that my body can handle, because there's still some veggies and fruit that I'm finding are triggers, even though they're not typical triggers for people with acid reflux. So it's really figuring all of that stuff out. But yeah, I don't know. I'm loving plant life right now.
Interesting. Yeah, I find, what I find with most people is when I say the word diet, they automatically think of calorie restriction. And I'm really glad that you guys didn't bring that up. And I think that oftentimes when we think about food and we think about diet, and one of you mentioned it earlier on, I think it was you, Jeff, who said stuff I can't have. And so then you ruminate over, I can't have this, I can't have that, I can't have this. And you forget all the stuff that you can have. So I love what you guys talk about with regards to your diet, because really diet is just a way of eating. And It's been morphed into, I can only have 1,200 or 1,300 or whatever, how many calories that, some calculator has said that you're able to have. So my ideal diet is something that tastes good. And I, like you did, because I know that you're a super foodie, I like to cook. And I think my husband and I are pretty good cooks, but there's nothing that satisfies me more than that tastes really good and leaves me feeling good. And so like last night I went on a run, we had a vegetable curry with basmati rice. And I was like, we have to wait for an hour after we eat because of GI upset and stuff. And I was like, man, I feel pretty good. Like I've got really good energy. And sometimes when you go for a run and you've had a really crappy, like atomic bomb pizza, and your body just feels like it's running through mud. So my ideal diet is something that tastes good, it looks good because I'm a visual person, and still allows me to do the stuff that I want to do without feeling sluggish. So I'm going to switch this back a little bit because I talked about ideal diet, and now I'm going to flip up to what would you say your ideal fitness is? So go back to what you say fitness is, and how would you define ideal fitness? Oh, sorry. Let's start with Dave.
Ideal fitness. I'd like to be able to do what I want when I want. I'd love to be able to tackle a hike that has more hills, more distance, just to get that view that maybe not everyone is able to see. And we had some unbelievable hikes when we were in Banff, and we got to this point, and this was a while ago, maybe before we were doing a lot more hiking, and it was a trail. It's called Grassy Lakes Trail, and there's two paths. There's the easy way and the more difficult way. And my wife and I, we got to the sign, we looked, and we're like, let's do it. And we went to the more difficult path. And the easy path, it's a steep incline, like, don't get me wrong. And it wasn't easy because you saw some people pushing up carriages with 2 kids in them, and they were struggling. But it was a wide gravel path. So it looks like the typical thing you should see in the park. It wasn't easy. I'd say it was medium difficulty. But we got to the point where when we were walking up, hiking up a creek, like the water was coming down. We were going up the creek on the rocks. The views that we had, oh my goodness, things that I've never thought, like stunning waterfalls, views of the valleys, of the Three Sisters, like outside of Canmore, like gorgeous. And once we finished that, and I was like, this is what I want to be able to do on a more regular basis. And that's where I really got to the point of going, that this is my ideal kind of thing, to be able to hike a little bit further, a little bit higher, a little bit steeper. And that's what I want to do. And I don't think I have like once I reach a certain point, I don't want to climb Everest. Please don't ever, invite me to do that. But to climb like a decent hill, or to get over the lookout in Tobermory, the waters that you can see in Tobermory, the views that you can see in the mountains, like those, that's what I want. That's my ideal right there. That's it.
Awesome. Jess, how about you?
Yeah, Dave, like we live in such an amazing part of Ontario that is just dreamy. But my ideal fitness, so I'll just let you guys know a little bit more about my work life, because I feel like fitness really has to be part of your lifestyle. So I have an office job. I sit down for anywhere from 8 to 10, depending on the day. If I have meetings after hours or whatever, I could literally sit all day. So it's very sedentary. And if I'm saying that word right, I always struggle with saying that word, but I think I got it that time. So for me, it's really finding ways that bring me joy to add into fitness, because I feel like that's also a huge struggle for a lot of people. They know that they need to do fitness, but they just don't enjoy it. So it's finding those ways that I like to do, because why would I waste an hour of my time if I wasn't actually enjoying it? And for me, it's also finding that range, because I have tried the home videos, and they just don't work because they are the same all the time. I really have to have that mix. So right now, every Sunday I get up and I go to the gym and I do kind of more of a Pilates yoga mix. Really kind of, it adds that little bit of mindfulness at the end of my week, but it also is a little bit, it gets me moving on a Sunday. And then I'll also do strength training 1 day a week. And then on the off day, I will go to the gym and kind of do more of a circuit kind of training. And I think my ideal fitness is something like that, with the mix of outdoors. I wish that it was summer all year round, because winter I'm definitely not outside as much. But I love Canada, so I'm definitely never going to move out of country. So I kind of have to live with that. So that's one thing that is a struggle for me, is getting outside and staying active 7 days a week instead of just the 3 days a week. In an ideal world, I would get moving at least an hour a day, every day, doing something that I love.
Yeah, you know what? You brought joy to me when you had said it has to be something that you enjoy. And I love Dave. I lived in Calgary, so I saw Three Sisters. My 30th birthday, we summited a mountain, and I just looked that's all you could see was the tops of mountains. So for me, and again, I'm 50, and I'm kind of proud to say that I'm 50 years old, because when I do things, I'm like, I just want to be able to do them. And I love being outside, and I love, we bought cross country skis this year, and we skied with a bunch of people, and I felt like a 12-year-old going down a hill, and I'd clock myself at, oh my gosh, I was 28 kilometers an hour going down that hill. I love that challenge. And I love being able to do those things. Part of the struggle for me is those numbers. And I'm learning that my ideal fitness is not just the physical, but the mental side, and the being content with, you know what, I'm a 7-minute kilometer an hour runner, and I'm okay with that. And all my other friends are super fast and do these crazy things, but I'm 50 years old and I'm running 7 minutes a kilometer, and I can hike and ski and do all these other things. And that's what matters to me. So I love your answers. I can't tell you what joy it brings me. So with things, we're very goal driven, and part of establishing a change, and we've all kind of talked a little bit about how food and fitness really is important for our health. Part of establishing a change is developing a goal. And we've all kind of thought about goals. So each week, we're going to discuss our goal with an aspect of food and fitness. So today I thought, let's describe a goal that we want to achieve. And let's begin by thinking of it as long-term, a really lofty goal. So I'm going to begin with Dave. Dave, what is your goal?
So for 2021, our goal is to walk 1,000 kilometers over the calendar year. So that I read it in a magazine of 1,000 miles. That's not happening right now. So I'll start with 1,000 kilometers and work my way up. And it's been pretty good so far this year. We had a pretty mild winter. The snowplows were out. So after work, we were able to get out and just knock off a couple kilometers here and a couple kilometers there. So that's our goal, is to do 1,000 kilometers by the end of by December 31st.
That is awesome. And we've all heard of SMART goals. Dave, I love it. It's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable, it's realistic, and you've put a time frame on it. So well done for you.
I hope it's realistic.
Yeah. Well, we're here, Dave, to cheer you on. We're your cheerleaders. Jess, how about you? What is your goal?
So my goal really is more lifestyle and diet driven, because I feel like right now in my life, I have that fitness part kind of locked in. It's actually been really helpful since the lockdown has kind of lifted. You have to register in advance for your classes. So if you're going to the gym, I have to register, and I have about 7 days to register before that class. So that's really helped me. So that the beginning of this year, my goal would have been to exercise more and add more movement into my life. But right now, after thinking about it a little bit, I think I already can put that check mark on there. And hopefully in my journey, I can continue to do that. But right now, fitness, I feel like I have under control. It's the diet side of things that is all over the place. So my goal right now, and I'm really hoping that I can have this kind of under control by summertime, but is to really figure out what my trigger foods are and find ways to enjoy the flavor of the new foods that I'm adding into my diet that kind of replace some of the ones that do give me those triggers and act up. So my goal is really to get my diet under control and figure out what I can and can't eat.
Yeah, that's pretty important, because you've talked a lot about that acid reflux, and for anybody who's experienced it, it's not fun. So for sure, just quality of life.
One other thing I want to add, so the obviously I am on medicine, but I really do not like taking pills every day for certain things, and I think that your diet can control a lot of those things, and especially with reflux. Of course, the pill right now is kind of more of a healing phase. But I'm hoping long-term, I won't have to take a pill every day and I can really get it under control. So that's my goal.
That's great. That's great. So much to hear. So I've got kind of a two-part goal, and my goal last year, again, I turned 50 last year. So I had thought in January of 2020 that I'm turning 50. A friend of mine mentioned that she hiked 50K on her 50th birthday. I'm like, oh, challenge is set. I'm going to do that too. So last year on my birthday, I got up at 7 a.m. I didn't just do this. I actually trained for it, but I told nobody. My husband knew, and he was the only one, because I didn't want to face people if I failed. So I got up at 7 a.m. and I ran Mono Cliffs, and I ran 50K on my 50th birthday. And I did it by myself. And it was actually, as soon as I had done it, I thought I set the goal, and I was like, I was never going to do this again. As soon as I finished it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do it again. And so this year, the race that I want to do, I use that in quotation marks because I don't really race. I just do it for myself. is to do 50K, but I want to do it at the actual race. So the race I want to do is Woodstock in Michigan, which is part of the problem. It's not sure if it's running yet, but it's in September. And that's my goal, is to do it live, because I thought that would be so much fun to do it with a whole bunch of other people instead of spending 50 kilometers by myself. So that's my goal. However, it may not come to fruition. So I'll just do it again by myself and have a good time doing it. So that's my goal, 50K. Again, I should do 51, because I'll be turning 51 this year. So maybe I'll just throw
It's awesome.
Amazing.
That is fabulous. I love hearing each of your goals. And we hope that you, the listener, kind of follow this journey with us, because part of goal setting is accountability, meaning that you just told the world, and now you're accountable not only to the 2 people that you told to do, but to other people. So we're going to keep checking in. Thanks so much for tuning into this first episode. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope that you're going to come back for more and, simply cheer us on with our goals. So yeah, that's it for this week. So until next week,
We're going to talk food.
We're going to talk fitness.
and we're going to do it together.
See ya.